Hey, everybody, welcome in on this Monday morning. Good to see everyone. Coming up on today's show, Trump is about to get his massive pardon on. Who's on the list? We'll tell you. Plus, the FBI is questioning people that are guarding the inauguration. And they think that they'll be done by Wednesday with all of the questioning of National Guard troops who are flying in from all over the country right now. So we'll get this done by Wednesday,
hey everybody, welcome
which also
on this Monday,
which also happens to be Inauguration Day. What are they worried about? An inside job? I will tell you about that. Plus, conservatives are losing their minds that Bernie Sanders is now the head of the budget committee. Get ready, folks, as we look at the things that he's about to spend money on, and conservatives are not happy about it. Good to see everyone on this Monday morning. We've got that and so much more to talk about on the show today. David's in the control booth. How was your weekend, my friend?
Good morning. It was good. Just working and, all the fun stuff.
Yeah. What keeps it going, man? Grover is here, enjoying some sun, his new favorite spot. Now that it's a little nice and warmer out.
Look at those blue skies.
Seaside breeze here. And 2 days until President Trump is evicted. 3 hours and 12 minutes. It's hard to believe that it's come down to this. I can't wait to walk through all of the pardons that we've got today and what that's going to look like.
You're fired.
Order.
That's what somebody should say to him on the way out.
We'll see if that actually happens. You're fired. Why is this not syncing? That's no good. One of my notes apps is not syncing properly. So I'm going to have to pull an Audible. Get some of my notes in here. How is everyone in the chat doing today? Rhea Porter is a new member. Good to see you on this Monday. Is this not working? You switch to a new notes app because you think, man, this thing is awesome. I pay for the pro plan, and now it's not syncing for me. Honey, could you do me a favor? Could you hand me my iPad? Yeah. So I need to pull up. Let's see if this works. Is it Mercury retrograde yet? No bueno. Actually, now I'm going to ask you, honey, can you do me one more favor? Bring me that laptop. My notes are not syncing. That is a problem. And I don't know why that's happening. I have it memorized. It's all up here. I don't need any of my notes. Where we're going, we don't need pants. There we go. I can't wait till we get this new studio built. Yeah. So we're thinking about different backdrop ideas. I'm excited about different lights we're going to have back here and the whole thing. Better soundproofing. So if you've been watching our show for any length of time, you know that I have to run this cord down my back. Certainly got better cameras, better audio. David running the show on the production side. Can you show him your booth? Show him your control. This incredible NASA control booth.
This is
NASA. I want to
NASA.
get some of these. This is NASA. That's what I want to get.
And I'm going to have to get you one of these too so you can move and we can set shots so you can kind of show stuff off.
See, I thought that box there that Captain America's sitting on, I thought that was a 3D printer. Like you're,
yeah, no, that's what's running this whole production right now. That machine. And then this machine sends a signal over to that machine, and that's the machine that's streaming. So I have dual stream set up so that way we don't utilize all of our resources on one machine.
Love it, love it.
Yes, I am a geek.
All right. So we're going to start the show in about 4 minutes. Is everything good with the stream and looking good on the what am I trying to say here? The social stream. That's what I'm trying to say.
The social stream. What's that mean?
Well, comments.
Oh,
comments. Sorry.
Yes. Although I'm having an issue connecting to Facebook, so I'm trying.
Okay.
It's always Facebook.
Sure.
Boom, there it goes.
So we're on Twitch, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter. Good to see everyone this morning. Hey, Jackie, good to see you. Longtime friend. Nice to see you. Relationship with Teaming. Relationship T with Teaming. I love that name. Did everyone get the newsletter this morning? Thank you, Sherry Dixon. Says hugs. Good to see you. Robert wants to know if I can take a day off and let Grover run the show. How do you think Grover would do?
I don't think he'd sit. I mean, unless you set the camera right there and there was no other distractions, he might do okay. But if there was any distraction, I think he'd take off.
Yeah, I mean, because he's just been out, like, he'll rest for like 30 minutes and then like a dog barks and he hops up and has to run over.
Yeah, he would not care how many people were watching. He would leave you.
Right. So he would be here for a little while and he'd be like, I'm really into what we're talking about here, but I saw a squirrel.
Yeah.
I got to go.
And he wouldn't even apologize for it.
No. He's very selfish that way. So speaking of dogs, for Christmas, my mom and dad got me a master class subscription.
Oh, cool!
Where you can take different master classes with, you can actually take like
Steve
a guitar
Martin.
class with Carlos Santana. Yeah, you can take like a comedy
Ron
writing
Howard.
class with Steve Martin. Ron Howard directing. You can do, like, if you want to write thrillers, you can do like Walter Mosley courses, James
and
Patterson,
if you're really
all that kind of stuff.
If you're really I don't know what category, you can learn from Kevin Spacey, I think. Or did they remove him?
I don't know. Yeah, you can go into the whole sexual harassment category. You can learn how to be a sexual harasser if you want. So yeah, Harvey Weinstein has a whole section. No, we're joking about that.
Yeah. Like, is there any way I can change my course and keep it on there?
Right. I just took the Matt Lauer course. Teaches you a lot of stuff about how to like install doors.
Yeah, push
in your
the button, show
with
them
locks on them.
Push the button and show them how your door shuts now.
It's just one little button. Ready? There it goes. There's the Matt Lauer door. Disgusting. No. So anyway, I taking a course on dog training with this like master dog trainer, and because Grover needs to stop being a little pain in the butt when we're out taking walks and bothering other people. Like he just runs up to other dogs and.
If you ever need help with that, Jennifer, my girlfriend, is a great dog trainer. You better let me watch that course first, because there's a lot of those pros out there that teach you the wrong things.
Okay. Well, I'll let you.
We do positive reinforcement training.
Oh well, this course, yeah. There's a lot of hitting of the dog, and
it's called negative.
Negative reinforcement. Sorry, I'm joking. No, I would never do that to an animal. Are you kidding me? Never, ever, ever. No, it's a great program. So, and he's very, very loving, and he actually does a lot with like strays and dogs that have been hurt over the years. So, I'll tell you more about that later. We can talk more about that in the after show. What do you think about that?
That sounds good.
All right. So let me get this turned on here. Okay. Oh, all right. All right, everyone. Welcome into Morning Invest on this Monday. Man, technical issues all around for me today, but hey, that's the way it rolls. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Good morning on this Morning Invest Monday. I'm Clayton Moore. So glad to have you here. Trump is about to get his massive pardon on. So who is on this list? We're going to go through there's like 100 people or more that we're about to see over the next 24 hours. So it is going to be messy. There's going to be a lot of fallout from this. I know we want to turn the page and start talking about this new administration and what's going to come next, but there's still a lot of detritus that we have to clean up. And the fumigation of the White House begins as well. They are literally fumigating the White House, which is exactly what I would do. If I knew that family was in that building, I'd be getting out the pressure washer. I'd be hiring the people in Breaking Bad that you call after there's a crime.
Wait a minute,
calling to clean that place up.
In this couch, is this a
what is that?
Big Mac special sauce?
What is this, a fillet of fish underneath this pillow? This fillet of fish has been here for 6 months. Disgusting.
I don't wear a toupee.
Oh, God. Ooh. Also on the show today, the FBI questioning the people guarding the inauguration. Yes, over 25,000 National Guard troops on their way to Washington, and the FBI is questioning them one by one by one. And they say they'll be done by Wednesday. Oh, I hope so. So what are they worried about? I'll tell you on today's show. Conservatives also losing their minds that Bernie Sanders is now the head of the budget committee. So get ready, folks, because we're going to look at the things that he's about to spend money on. This position in the Senate is incredibly powerful. So if you thought, okay, maybe what's the second best thing that Bernie Sanders could be instead of being president of the United States? How about Senate budget chairman? And conservatives are flipping out. They're taking me to task on Twitter, by the way. I'll show you some of that back and forth. I love getting into it. Want to talk about foreign wars and spending money over there instead of at home? Oh yeah, I'm ready to fight on that issue. And we also have our morning newsletter. We publish it every morning, Monday through Friday, and it's totally free. So just come over to morninginvest.com/ it's just morninginvest.com.
There's no slash in that one.
There's no slash. So just go to morninginvest.com and you can subscribe and get the newsletter. Our newsletter for today just went out. So you can sign up and grab it tomorrow. But if you did get it, I want to hear from you. Email me back. Many of you have been emailing me right now through the show. I see the emails coming in right now, letting me know that you got it. That's great. We want to make sure, because we had a big spam issue a few weeks ago, and it was not good. So we want to make sure that you receive it. It's not in your junk folder. It's in your inbox. That's the main goal. I also want to tell you about it's tax time, and I want to tell you about our friends over at TurboTax. TurboTax has done some really interesting things this time around, where they have taken things to the next level, making you actually giving a human being that you can speak to. So Intuit TurboTax now, whether you've made some investments for the first time this year, or you need to figure out how to use your your stimulus money properly, or you bought something or you sold something, or you just need a little bit of advice. Maybe you had some legal issues, or you had to spend money different ways. It doesn't matter. TurboTax now has real human beings that you can interact with. It used to be just software years ago, but now they've really stepped things up for you to take advantage of their incredible tax options. And guess what? The federal government has now extended you can file your taxes. They pushed it back until February 12th now instead of at the end of January, to give you a little bit more time. They've delayed things because of COVID. Again, have these discussions with the tax team at TurboTax. So just go to turbotax.com and check out their new live features where you can actually speak face-to-face and ask them questions about your taxes. So really great. So thanks for their support of the show. Really appreciate that. All right, we've got a lot to get to on the show today. Grover is standing by somewhere. There he is. He's in his sunny spot waiting for the show to begin. I want to get, though, to the pardon news, which is where we're going to start today's show. President Trump, is preparing to pardon or commute the sentences of more than 100 people in his final days, the final hours in office. And decisions are expected to be announced either today or Tuesday, according to a couple people who are familiar with these discussions. And they spoke quietly on this, on the anonymity. They're not allowed to talk about who's on this pardon list. But the White House has been like a revolving door over the past weekend. where you've had all these people who are of, I don't know, what's the best way to describe them? Do you think questionable personalities?
Yeah, I mean, there were
the White House?
Four of them alone were basically assassins.
Right. Well, we're just wandering over the White House. We saw the My Pillow guy show up. I don't think he was asking for a pardon. He was asking for an insurrection. He wanted like a military. He wanted to use the military and martial law. But hey, Trump met on Sunday with his son-in-law.
He was there. He was just there to hand out pillows to the National Guard. Come on, man.
Oh, that's great. He's providing all the cots. He's not actually for all these National Guard that are sleeping on the floor. Now, the My Pillow guy, if you missed it this weekend, literally went to the White House with a group of papers in his hands. And he was basically, from when they zoomed in on the papers, you could see him talking about martial law. You could see him talking about like basically launching wars so that he could claim that he has military rights to stay in the White House. He's like calling for a full-on insurrection to defend this vote. I don't know that. And apparently he waited 3 hours to meet with the president. Can you imagine the My Pillow guy? He's like sitting out in the lobby with his like scrawled notes. Like, here's my chance to go meet with the president, see if he'll hold on to power for me. This is like his top advisor right now is the My Pillow guy. But yesterday he did meet with Jared Kushner, his son-in-law. He met with his daughter, Ivanka Trump. And he met with a number of other aides for a significant amount of time during the day. They went through a long list of pardon requests. That's what they spent the whole day doing yesterday. Because, we're not in a pandemic, and we're not breaking all kinds of COVID records across the country. We're about to pass 400,000 people dead, by the way. That could happen even before the end of the show. It could. But there's lingering questions about this appeals process for these people. Like, according to multiple people who were in that meeting, the president was personally engaged with the details on specific cases, one by one. This is what the president has been focused on. Because I think for him to be able to curry favor with people, right, this is going to set him up for his next life. He's out of money. He's got incredible legal bills and incredible legal problems. So who can he curry favor with in this list of pardons?
He better start pardoning some bank owners, because he's not going to be able to get any money when he's out of there.
But the problem is none of these bank owners have ever been convicted of anything.
Oh, that's right.
We go through a financial crisis in the United States, and these guys caused the worst financial crisis in American history. And no one goes to jail.
Didn't one guy take the fall for all of it? Wasn't there one guy that took the fall?
Yeah. I don't know, he got like a year or something ridiculous. And I think he actually, it was like not even arrested. It was like a fine. Or I don't know. It was something very, very meaningless. In Iceland, though, I mean, look, they put those people in prison. So they managed to do that in other countries.
And rewrote their constitution.
So, no, David. Yeah, rebuilt their entire country so that it was actually more equitable for the citizens, to make sure that that elites in that country could never do what they did again. Imagine how that would be in the United States if we did that here. So no bankers, David, I'm sorry to tell you, have been convicted of anything or have a charge of anything. So that's the thing. My questioning, you've got to have charges, right? You've got to have convictions, you'd think, to have pardons. So Trump has been particularly consumed with the question of whether to issue preemptive pardons to his adult children, according to these sources. Top aides say that he's wondering if he can give himself a pardon. Most people say, no, you can't. And by the way, most Americans think that would be appalling. A new poll out this morning shows that over 70% of Americans think it would be wrong for him to pardon himself. But it remains unclear whether he'll actually make it through any kind of move on this, because he's talked about this possibility. No final decisions have been made. It's wondering if he's going to just do it and see, hey, I'm going to give it a shot. I mean, what would you do in this situation? Like, if you knew you had a lot of legal issues about to face you, especially in the state of New York, he could get slapped with that stuff on Wednesday or Thursday of this week, by the way. And you have the power of the pardon, and yet you don't have any charges. Would you just try it? I mean, like, if the shoe were on the other foot, what would you guys do?
I'd just go buy an easel and some canvases and paintbrushes and go join George Bush and paint the rest of my life and just stay out of the public eye.
Painting poodles?
But I got a question. Are any people that actually deserve it on that list, like Snowden and Assange?
We don't know. And so when asked about who's specifically on this list, the officials said, we can't tell you. It'd be illegal for us to tell you. We'll tell you that he's working on a list, but we can't tell you. I said yesterday on yesterday's show, I hope that Assange would be on this list. I would hope that Edward Snowden would be on this list. It would be great. That's one way for him to actually, I don't know, have some glimmer on his legacy when he leaves office, to pardon Edward Snowden, an American hero, in my opinion, or Assange. The only reason we know about these war crimes is because of Julian Assange. So there's a real question this morning whether or not he can actually use a pardon power to benefit himself. Neither Trump nor his children have been charged with crimes. And they're not known to be technically under federal investigation. State investigations, yeah, but that doesn't help you in a state investigation. So this question of a self-pardon has become more urgent and controversial, of course, since the January 6th storming of the U.S. Capitol, because some aides think that Trump could actually face criminal liability for inciting violence in the crowd. And that's why they've been telling him to keep his mouth shut. In fact, we were talking about this the other day, and Pod Save America talked about this a little bit too, which is this idea that that Jack Dorsey may have helped Trump in more than one way by kicking him off of Twitter. Because if he had Twitter, he might be opening himself up to all sorts of criminal liability if he's tweeting things about the Capitol siege. And so his aides have basically told him to shut up, don't say anything, because civilly, think about the 5 people that were killed and might say, well, we came because Trump told us to. So then he could be under civil liability for inciting this violence, criminally as well. So in some ways, maybe Jack Dorsey helped him by keeping him off of Twitter. So, and others think a self-pardon, like never before attempted by a president, would be kind of dubious constitutionally. And it could also anger Senate Republicans preparing to serve as key jurors in a Trump impeachment trial. It would basically be, hey, I'm guilty. And so when you have Lindsey Graham, which we'll get to in a second, who's been out there saying, hey, calling up Chuck Schumer and saying, hey, you know, you got to vote down this thing. Don't even bring these articles of impeachment. Just throw them out. That we need to heal our country. And then if the president pardons himself, that would be an admission of guilt, wouldn't it? And it could be used against Trump in potential civil litigation relating to the Capitol, and then, of course, also during the impeachment proceedings. So Judd Deere, who's the White House spokesperson, it's amazing there's anyone even left in the White House. They've all, fled right now. Judd Deere. He sounds like he would be a Trump White House spokesman, doesn't he? Who's your White House spokesman? Judd Deere.
Judd Deere.
He's got 2 beers on one of those helmet hats, 2 straws. Judd Deere declined to comment, saying that his office does not discuss pardons at all. What does your office discuss? We don't talk about pardons. Marge, get me another beer in here.
We talk about tractors.
Deere. Judd Deere at your service.
That's John's brother.
John's less successful brother. Judd. What does your brother do? Oh, he created a tractor empire. No, not that brother. What does your other brother do? Judd. Oh, we don't talk about Judd. So many of these pardons and these commutations that Trump is expected to be issuing in these final days, according to the White House, saying they're going to be uncontroversial. Yeah, okay. Really? So we know that there's clemency being begged for, basically, by Steve Bannon, his former campaign advisor, who's been charged last year with defrauding donors about that border wall along the U.S.-Mexico border, or Rudy Giuliani, whose consulting business has, of course, come under scrutiny as part of the investigation that led to charges against 2 of his associates. But apparently Giuliani was at the White House this weekend, and apparently Trump on Friday was angry and lashing out at Rudy Giuliani. I guess he found out, finally, how much Rudy was being paid for all of his legal services for the impeachment, or I'm sorry, for the election fraud cases, $20,000 a day. And apparently Trump was super pissed about it. and said, we're not paying him. Which Trump is good at, right? Not paying contractors that he hires. So there's no surprise there. So there's a lot of questions as to who else is on this list. Who else could he curry favor with by pardoning? So we're likely to see that over the next 24 to 48 hours. There's not much time left, of course, because there's only 2 days until Trump is out of there. 2 hours, 48 minutes. It's kind of funny when you think about that. Like, that's how much time is left.
You know, you really got to wonder when he leaves office, because there's nobody's going to want to attach their name to his now. Like, if anybody attaches their name to his with anything, like book deals, there's not going to be any book companies that are going to want to publish his books. There's not going to be banks that want to work with him. People like celebrities are going to distance themselves from him. Like, is there anybody, like, what the heck is he going to do? Like, we might see him on the streets of New York one day.
I hope so. I don't know what he's going to do. When you have all these banks that, you're right, have distanced themselves from him. $17 million in revenue has now just been cut by New York State. This New York City, Bill de Blasio, said we're done doing these contracts with the Trump organization. The PGA has pulled up their stakes. They're not having any more PGA tournaments at his golf clubs. You know, he's become politically toxic, of course. He's become personally and financially toxic. I mean, the guy had $500 million in debt, according to his tax returns. And a lot of those debts are coming due. And on top of that, he's got all this mounting legal trouble that he's facing when he leaves.
Well, hopefully he can sell pillows.
Again, right. Maybe the My Pillow guy went to the White House to offer him a job. So on the impeachment front, that's the next bit of news that's unfolding this morning. And Senator Lindsey Graham has been calling on Chuck Schumer to hold a vote to dismiss the articles of impeachment against Trump. He's urging incoming Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer to hold a vote to dismiss the articles of impeachment against Trump. Graham wrote in a letter to Schumer on Sunday that the New York Democrat is seeking vengeance and political retaliation in his first act as Majority Leader, instead of beginning a national healing. So when asked about whether or not we should continue with this impeachment proceeding, there's been some interesting developments over the past 24 hours. I want to play for you Jamie Raskin. He's a Democrat who just lost his son. This has gone viral overnight, where Jamie Raskin, I mean, he gives really like an incredible speech about losing his son and about not giving up on this impeachment proceeding. I want you to listen to Jamie Raskin sitting down with Jake Tapper. It's pretty powerful.
I want to turn now to a different subject because I think it's a lot of people watching know how remarkable it is that you have the energy and to do what you're doing, given the fact that you're dealing with a family tragedy. You lost your son, 25-year-old Tommy, to depression. You wrote a very moving reflection on his, quote, perfect heart, a perfect soul, a riotously outrageous and relentless sense of humor, and a dazzling, radiant mind.
My wife Sarah and I wrote this together.
Tell us more about Tommy.
Tommy was a remarkable person. He had overwhelming love for humanity and for our country in his heart, and really for all the people of the world. We lost him on the very last day of that god-awful year, 2020, and he left us a note which said, "Please forgive me, my illness won today. Look after each other, the animals, and the global poor for me. All my love, Tommy." And that was the last act in a life that dazzled anybody who came into contact with Tommy. He was a slam poet who wrote these magnificent 20, 30-minute poems, which he, of course, knew by heart, and he would get up and perform them. He was absolutely devoted to human rights for every person. He was devoted to animal rights and welfare. He was a passionate vegan and convinced a lot of people to stop eating animals just through the force of his poetry. He was a second-year student at Harvard Law School.
He was a beautiful kid.
When we lost him, he had not only beloved friends at Harvard Law School, but he was teaching a course with Michael Sandel, Justice, as a teaching fellow at the college, and so he had students of his own, and he graded all of his papers and exams and wrote many pages analyzing the work of the students and writing back to them. And he made donations in each of their names to different charitable groups that he thought would be consistent with the values of the student. And so some of them went to Give Directly or to Oxfam or so on. And I asked him why he did that, and he quoted something that Father Berrigan had said about the great Dorothy Day. He said, well, like Father Berrigan said about Dorothy Day, she lived as though the truth were true. And he said, I want to show them that the truth is true and we can live that way. So, you know, people are asking me why I decided to do this. First of all, I don't know if you've ever tried to say no to Speaker Pelosi about anything, but she's actually been very sensitive and thoughtful. But she wanted me to do it because she knows that I've devoted my life to the Constitution and to the Republic. I'm a professor of constitutional law. But I did it really with my son in my heart and helping lead the way. I feel him in my chest. When we went to count the Electoral College votes and it came under that ludicrous attack, I felt my son with me. And I was most concerned with our youngest daughter and my son-in-law, who's married to our other daughter, who were with me that day, who got caught in a room off of the House floor. And between them and me was a rampaging armed mob that could have killed them easily and was banging on the doors where they were hiding under a desk with my Chief of Staff, Julie Tagan. These events are personal to me, Jake. There was an attack on our country. There's an attack on our people. There are thousands of people who work on Capitol Hill, not just members, but staff members and Capitol Hill police officers who were pushed and shoved and punched in the face, pummeled and hit over the head with fire extinguishers. And the President of the United States did nothing to stop it for more than 2 hours as members of Congress were calling him and begging him to do something, and he continued to watch it on TV and to enjoy their, you know, insurrection tailgate party where they were celebrating the attack on our democracy. This president has been impeached already twice, and we just want the Senate to conduct a serious trial where every member of the Senate lives up to his or her constitutional oath to render impartial judgment as a juror.
Congressman, I mean, I can't even begin to express my condolences for what you and your wife and your daughters and family are dealing with. I can't also imagine having that trauma compounded with this other trauma. You just lost your son, and now you're in Congress worrying about your daughter and your other daughter's husband because of these terrorists who had attacked the Congress. That trauma on top of trauma just seems so debilitating.
Well, I'm not going to lose my son at the end of 2020 and lose my country and my republic in 2021. It's not going to happen.
So that's gone viral. I wonder why. Pretty powerful. So he's leading the impeachment proceedings and was happy to do it after Nancy Pelosi asked him to do it. So, you know, Lindsey Graham over in the Senate is trying to get Chuck Schumer to end this thing. Hey, you know, this is, you know, you're just trying to be vindictive against President Trump. And it's amazing to me, like, he just, like, still grovels to President Trump's feet, does Lindsey Graham. Well, Karl Rove and others don't think the president's going to have an easy walk of this, especially as Mitch McConnell is lining up possibly to convict President Trump in the Senate. Listen to Karl Rove, his take on all this and the Republicans and what Trump is actually going to be facing here. Karl Rove, the architect, he's not a dumb guy. at all. But I am, so I can't get this audio to play. What did I do wrong? There we go. Let's try that, shall we? Sorry about that, folks. Let's try this now.
Carl, Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell says that he is keeping an open mind about the second impeachment trial of Donald Trump. A big difference, sharp difference from his clear opposition from the very start of the first impeachment trial just a year ago. What do you think, Carl, are the chances that 17 Senate Republicans, and that's what it would take if all of the Democrats vote for conviction, 17 Senate Republicans would vote to convict Donald Trump and remove him? Well, he'll be removed from office, but to keep him from running again.
Well, normally we'd say not much chance, but I think Leader McConnell's statement is a sign that every Republican senator needs to take this seriously. And I think it's all going to boil down to what's the president's defense. Rudy Giuliani charted a very bad course for the president in the morning papers when he suggested that the argument was going to be, well, there couldn't have been incitement because all the charges of widespread voter fraud are true. Well, those charges and the so-called experts that the campaign has mustered to advocate them have been rejected by over 50 courts, with judges appointed by President Trump, President Obama, President Bush, President Clinton, and I think even one Reagan justice. So if it's the Rudy Giuliani defense, there is a strong likelihood that more than 17 Republicans will, because essentially that argument is this was justified. The attack on the Capitol and the attempt to end the congressional hearing on certifying the election was justified because all these charges are true. And frankly, they aren't. They have been given every opportunity to prove them in a court of law and have failed to do so. So I think it really boils down to what's the defense that the president is going to make. And if it's Rudy Giuliani's defense, I think it raises the likelihood of more than 17 Republicans voting for conviction.
Wow. Karl Rove, who talks to Mitch McConnell regularly, he doesn't go on Fox News and say something like that unless he knows. I know Karl well, and there is not a man that has more access to Republican information, whip count numbers in the Senate than Karl Rove. Still, he's one of the most sought-after political advisors in Republican circles. He does not just float these things lightly. So if he's saying that President Trump is facing an uphill battle and Rudy Giuliani just screwed him over once again, that's got to be of concern to President Trump. It'll be interesting to watch. So tomorrow, so impeachment, starts technically tomorrow in the Senate. Unless Mitch McConnell delays it. We still don't know if the Senate parliamentarian, what's going to happen. Will this unfold tomorrow? They're going to push it back a few weeks. We're still waiting on this timeline. But then, of course, he only has 1 day left. And then it raises questions about, can they continue to prosecute him and convict him while he's out of office? All of those things are being taken up by scholars and constitutional scholars. But nevertheless, if he's impeached, then that means he'll never be able to run again. And he will have all those protections removed from him by the United States government. And then it'll be interesting to see whether or not he decides to go forth and open up a presidential library. I would love to know what would be inside of a Trump presidential library. As he's admitted, he's only read one book. He doesn't read pages that are long. He doesn't read briefing reports that are longer than 1 page.
That's why
Kids,
Twitter's
we're taking
perfect
a field
for him.
trip today. I know, it's the perfect platform. Oh, you only get 280 characters? Perfect. By the way, have you noticed that President Trump has been, instead of using Twitter, he's been releasing statements through official channels at the White House, right? The White House press release. The White House has issued a statement. And now, instead of it being a long statement from President Trump, it's like literally 2 sentences. It's like he's now tweeting using the official press release platform of the White House. It's pretty funny to see that stuff archived in the National Archives next to, long letters written by presidents past, and then these little 2-sentence statements from President Trump. But I would love, that would be a field trip I would love to go on, to go to the Trump presidential library as a kid. Hey kids, I need to have you have to sign these permission slips from your parents because we're going on a field trip next week. Yeah, where are we going, Mrs. Johnson? We're going to the Trump Presidential Library. Wow, what did you learn today? Well, they have one book in the library. They have 30,000 copies of The Art of the Deal. But they have a fantastic lunch counter
and a bunch of paintings of Trump.
Right. That's like Sylvester Stallone's house, where he's just got paintings of himself all over the house. You know, he paints, he's a painter, and he just paints himself. I know this because, why do I know that? Oh, because we were friends with someone who used to, was like a high profile moving company owner, where they would do big moves for like Hollywood celebrities, you know? And so they were moving stuff for one of his ex-girlfriends, and or went to Sylvester Stallone's house and had to move. They were moving all of these giant paintings in the house, and they were all like paintings of himself.
Well, Clayton, that's the only guy I see when I look in the mirror.
You knocked him down. Why don't you try knocking me down?
No, there's one of Adrian over there.
Oh, Mickey! Shout out random Rocky phrases. Oh boy! So right now, this is what Washington D.C. looks like. These are the streets this morning. As you can see, people tweeting these pictures. These are National Guard troops marching through the streets of Washington this morning. The whole city is overrun as thousands of these National Guard troops pour in from all over the country. And by the way, if you're a member of the National Guard, former member of the National Guard, thank you for your service. I know we had a few of you guys watching here on the show. I'm curious about this process and what this looks like, because now we're learning this morning that the FBI is looking at all of these individuals and running basically background checks on these people. U.S. defense officials say they're worried about another, like an insider attack from service members. This is according to the Associated Press. It's kind of a bombshell story this morning, that there's insiders they're worried about. And the U.S. defense officials are saying this. This is not coming from like someone, this is coming from Trump's Defense Department are worried about an insider attack.
Can you turn the video down just a little bit?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just reaching over. So imagine the FBI having to do all of these background checks. Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy told the Associated Press on Sunday that officials are conscious of a potential new threat and that he warned commanders to be on the lookout for any problems within their ranks as the inauguration approaches. So far, they said leaders have said they have not seen any evidence of threats, and officials said the vetting hadn't flagged any issues yet that they were aware of. They said, quote, McCarthy said, we're continually going through the process and taking second, third looks at every one of the individuals assigned to this operation.
Well, and I think I saw a number of 20,000. Was that the number? Or are there more now?
25,000.
25,000 troops?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, is it possible to do background checks, thorough background checks on 25,000 people in that short amount of time? But what does it say, the fact that these are our National Guard and we're having to do this? Like, I mean, given what we saw at the Capitol and members of Congress who were leading tours with people and members of the military or members of the, who were off-duty police officers taking photos and selfies with members of on-duty Capitol police officers. Moving in formation with earpieces and respiratory equipment, and were on radios. You know, if you watched 60 Minutes last night, you hear from the people involved in this, and they said they knew exactly what they were doing. By dropping these pipe bombs and these other things across town, they diverted our attention on purpose, drew us away. So there were pipe bombs and all these Molotov cocktails and these other things that were left in order to draw us away from the Capitol. And then they were able to lift up these dog gates and go right through, they said. They knew what they were doing.
Well, maybe we need to start doing background checks on regular military and stuff too, and Congress and Senate, and quit putting psychopaths in these positions. Psychopaths that go over. I mean, they put psychopaths in there that go over and just kind of take it upon themselves to do bad things over in these other countries, and then they come over here and get pardoned for it.
Yeah. Well, one of the problems with the military, very little. I mean, I don't think there's anyone in the military right now that can answer any recent military that could answer this question for me. Do you have to go through any kind of extensive background check? I mean, remember when George W. Bush got flack for lowering, because, we were in 2 wars. Who really wanted to join the military, right? So during George W. Bush's tenure, they reduced the threshold that which you could get into the military. Some of the physical threshold, if you were a certain amount overweight, et cetera, they allowed you to be basically they allowed you to be more out of shape. They also lowered the mental capacity. IQ tests were dropped as well during George W. Bush's tenure. And I don't know that that's ever been rolled back. But even beyond that, do they do, when you want to join the FBI or the CIA or whatever, you got to do extensive background checks. Do they do that with the military? Does anyone know?
Darren's saying it's very extensive.
Oh, really? To join the military, it's very extensive background checks. Okay, interesting. Definitely, they dug through all of my history. Ty White says they do a minor background check. I guess it depends on what branch of the military you're going in, right? Mr. Wisdom Seeker says, no, they don't. Think of the murderers at Fort Hood. Grave Circumstances says, no, it hasn't been rolled back. So it depends on which position, Trish says. Okay. Yeah, I would assume so. I have friends who are, Marine Corps pilots, I'm sure that there's different background checks, mental stress tests, all that kind of stuff for different positions in the military. So nevertheless, they're doing a 3-hour security drill right now in preparation for Wednesday's inauguration. So that's what you see all this marching here on your screen. If you're just joining us, these are all National Guard troops taking over DC. It's like a war zone. I mean, it's like an occupied city, like what you'd expect on the inside the green zone in Baghdad. This is the United States of America. And in a situation like this, the FBI, like this one, the FBI's vetting would involve running through people's names through databases and watch lists maintained by the Bureau to see if anything alarming pops up. But that could, that could involve prior investigations or any sort of terrorism-related concerns. Said David Gomez, who's a former FBI special security supervisor up in Seattle. So they have to go through this extensive process in order to find these people. 25,000 people. But I guess the good news is that there's really no one coming to the Capitol. The National Mall is closed, so it's going to be a weird inauguration on Wednesday. By the way, we're going to have a live show on Wednesday during the inauguration, so anyone who'd love to join us during that show, please subscribe to the channel right here and turn on that little bell notification so you'll be notified when we go live on YouTube and then on Twitch. Please follow us on Facebook as well. We're going to do a live show, so everyone come join us. We'll do a big live show on the inauguration morning.
Do you know what time that is, Clayton? Just out of curiosity.
Well, it depends. I mean, it depends on when the speeches will go. I mean, obviously noon is the official time when he has to be sworn in. So right around noon, the speech will probably start somewhere after 10 o'clock, 10:30. It depends. They do all the formal, some performances and beforehand, and it'll depend on when they start his speech. Could be 11 a.m. Eastern, somewhere in that time frame. So we'll probably start, I think around 10 a.m. Eastern, 10:30. We'll see. So I'll post a schedule here on the channel that you can RSVP and join us. So we'll have that date and time all set for you. So that's the FBI side. So let's talk about Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders, as you know, is the incoming Senate Budget Committee chairman. And boy, does this got under the collar of some conservatives, particularly Nikki Haley, of course. Nikki Haley tweeted this out yesterday and said, "Time to face the harsh reality. Socialist Bernie Sanders will become," and she said it just like that, by the way. I'm adding my own intonation to it, as if I imagine her typing it out. Time to face the harsh reality. Socialist Bernie Sanders will become the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. He has vowed to use his position to enact his progressive agenda on health care, climate, infrastructure spending, and cutting defense spending. To which, notice who responded, Jane Sanders, Bernie's, is that Bernie's daughter or Bernie's wife? I think I forget. I don't know his wife's name off the top of my head. I apologize. Tweets, but she's a family member. I don't know if it's his wife. I think it is. Is it his wife? Anyway.
Yeah, it looks like his
Jane
wife.
Tweets,
Jane.
Yeah, Jane. Jane tweets, yes, he has. So this is funny on a couple of levels because a couple of years ago, this goes back a couple of years, back to 2016, Congressman Paul Ryan of Wisconsin, who was then, of course, the Speaker of the GOP-controlled House of Representatives, said that year that in that election, he said, if we lose the Senate, do you know who becomes chair of the Senate Budget Committee? A guy named Bernie Sanders. Have you ever heard of him? That would be my worst nightmare. Well, guess what? A lot of people taking to Twitter last night to tell Congressman Paul Ryan, the former Congressman Paul Ryan, that your worst nightmare has now come true, because Bernie Sanders is now the head. He is the head of the Senate Budget Committee, and oh boy, it's going to get worse for Republicans before it gets better, because of what Bernie Sanders is going to be able to implement as head of the Budget Committee. So here is the announcement. Bernie Sanders was proud of this announcement, released this video, and we'll play it, and I want to talk more about some of the tweet responses we're getting on this.
If we lose Georgia, Bernie Sanders is the budget chairman.
If we lose the Senate, do you know who becomes the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee?
In 2016, Paul Ryan said Republicans should be scared of Democrats controlling the Senate because Bernie Sanders would be the budget chair.
A guy named Bernie Sanders. You ever heard of him?
Bernie's budget, Bernie Sanders speaking out on spending priorities.
The Senate Budget Committee is really one of the most powerful in Congress because it controls the money.
Sanders has been creating a new stimulus package that could include an emergency universal health care program so that anyone can get medical treatment during the pandemic, whether they currently have insurance or not.
We are proposing to raise the minimum wage so that people can earn a living wage. The American people are hurting very badly. What do the American people want, Lindsay? They want us to create jobs. They want us to rebuild a crumbling infrastructure and create millions of jobs. We now have the opportunity to move this country forward with a very different set of priorities.
Sanders has no problems being loud and bold.
Bernie is a man of his convictions.
I think the job of many of us is to keep banging away over and over again and ask why it is that we end up having millions of people sleeping out on the street.
My friend Bernie Sanders, I can think of no more passionate, devoted ally to working people in this country.
Senator Sanders says that he will use budget reconciliation process to boldly address the needs of working families.
We're talking about moms trying to feed their kids, people worried about being thrown out on the street.
The landlord here has started an eviction process against us.
Never thought I'd be in this situation ever.
I have no money for rent.
If we get kicked out of our house, where are we going to go?
1 out of 4 corporations doesn't pay a nickel in taxes. We are going to start to tax the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations. We just voted the largest military budget in the history of this country, $740 billion. The Pentagon can't even do an independent audit. There's an enormous amount of waste in that budget, but no one worries about that. But when it comes to the mom and dad who are struggling to put food on the table for their kids, oh my God, we're worried about the deficit.
I need help because I'm about to be homeless.
What our job has got to be is to bring people together around an agenda that is in fact supported by the vast majority of the American people.
Wow. So, if you can't have him as president of the United States, as a progressive president of the United States, standing up for working class people, trying to push for Medicare for all, a living wage for most Americans, fixing this climate crisis that we have, then maybe the next best thing is to have him as chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. So when Nikki Haley says, when she tweets out and says, "It's time to face the harsh reality that socialist Bernie Sanders will become the chairman. He's vowed to use his position to enact a progressive agenda on healthcare, climate, infrastructure, and cutting defense spending." I mean, I tweeted out just a short time after that, and I said, well, yeah, it's about damn time. It's about damn time. To which I got a lot of heated responses, as you can imagine. It's about damn time to what? Give away everything, allowing illegal caravans into the country? Turn the U.S. into a socialist utopia? Please explain what it's about damn time for.
Oh my gosh, Clayton.
To which I
Jack Mick, I think that's Trump's new account.
Oh, Jack Mick? Hey, Donald. It's Donald Strump.
I mean, that sounds like something he'd say.
I responded to Donald and said, "You've been brainwashed by the right-wing media. It's about time to start helping Americans. It's about time to start protecting workers. It's about time to provide health care. It's about time to end foreign wars. It's about time."
Agreed.
I love this one from Sandeep. He says to Nikki Haley, "Imagine being horrified by the prospect of spending more money on things that make life better for people everywhere and less on things designed to kill people outside of the United States."
Wow.
Stephen Hale, "Oh no, you don't mean sick Americans will be able to get looked after like people in every other rich country in the world. What a terrible, harsh reality. Shocking, really."
And you know what's sad is they probably blocked those people.
Oh, yeah, probably. Robin Lee says, "Imagine thinking of these things, that healthcare, clean air, and water, fewer bombs dropping on innocents are bad things." I love that. Only in America would Bernie be labeled a socialist. Every other developed nation already pretty much has all of these programs he espouses, including socialized medicine. Yeah, imagine. Imagine. And then I get another tweet response, which is like, "Our national debt is $27 trillion, to which I say, great. Let's actually focus on getting that balanced. And the amount of money that we waste every year on meaningless horse shit and lining the pockets of Wall Street and big businesses and defense contractors, imagine putting that money back here at home. Imagine not spending $740 billion a year on our defense budget.
Well, and imagine if any company that was contracted by the United States charged the government exactly what something cost instead of inflating the price by they spend like $100 per bolt. That's probably like a 2-cent bolt. You know, like people just.
You remember Al Gore? Remember Al Gore going on David Letterman's show back when he was vice president under Clinton? And he put on the protective glasses and he brought that ashtray with a hammer. One of the things that the Clinton administration wanted to do was to try to streamline government and not have people pay ridiculous prices for things like an ashtray in government offices where they had to test it. So he got out the hammer and they smashed the glass ashtray. And if the shards accounted for like 2,000 shards, then it wasn't good enough. They had to then get it rebuilt. And it's ridiculous, like the amount of money spent on that kind of stuff. So that his whole illustration, he brought like a thick book with him on Letterman that night to show like what kinds of ridiculous things the government spends money on.
Yeah, one of the things was
overpay for all kinds of stuff.
One of the things was testing the consistency of ketchup.
Right. Right. Yeah, this is good money to be spent. That's money well spent. Oh, that's a little chalky ketchup. Thank you, government.
What was that? Did you ever see that movie War Dogs? Where no. Those guys?
Oh, is that the
Jonah Hill?
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Okay, that's a really, you need to watch that movie because it like shows how these people that get government contracts, the government doesn't care what you charge. Like they'll just like you got the contract, and then they just invoice them and they're like, okay, here you go, and they don't they pay outrageous things for like what were they? Did you ever hear the story about toilet seats? What they pay for toilet seats?
Oh yeah. Yeah, Nancy Dubin in our chat says, yeah, the toilet seat that costs $10,000. Yeah.
Nancy, great minds.
Medicare is socialized medicine. This idea that, oh my God, people have been brainwashed by the right-wing media that Bernie Sanders is a radical. It's amazing how brainwashed Americans are that watch right-wing media. Frankly, watching left-wing media also, watching CNN or MSNBC, where it's bad. We're going to turn into Norway. We're going to turn into those Nordic countries if we have every citizen taken care of. Oh, by the way, Norway is not socialized. They're not a socialist country. They're a market economy. So is Finland. So is Denmark. And oh, by the way, they do pretty darn well. And their citizens have a higher life expectancy. They have health care. They have great schools. They have no crime. They don't have a ridiculous prison system, a for-profit prison system. So I love that Bernie's a radical. And we heard all of this during the Georgia runoff races, right? That, oh my God, you've got to vote for Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue because they're your firewall against this crazy socialism of Joseph Biden, who's a centrist Democrat who's voted to expand wars. But don't get in the weeds. As long as I just throw the scary word socialism out, you'll think it's true. Again, there has never in the history of this world been a pure socialist country. It's never existed. It's never existed. There's been different shades of it in different countries, but there's never been a pure socialist country in history. So when people want to throw that around, that it exists, it doesn't.
Well, and Daniel's saying the brainwashed people are those that believe Bernie isn't a radical socialist. He is not a radical socialist. Like, that's a Fox News talking point right there.
If he was in Norway, he'd just be like a normal, probably kind of middle of the road politician. He wouldn't be radical at all. But in the United States, it's radical to want health care for our citizens. It's radical that our children should not have to be saddled with massive student loan debt. It's radical that we should not want to be bombing other countries continuously for 19 straight years and lining the pockets of defense contractors year after year after year. That's radical? No, people call you unpatriotic. That's how they've been able to brainwash you. The media has been able to brainwash you. Like, yeah, I don't want to spend this much on the military. Oh, you're unpatriotic. No, I support our troops. Do we need a massive standing army? For what? For what threat? Oh, we need the new beating of the war drums because we always need an enemy in this country. Which brings me to Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State. I've been wondering, I've been talking about this on the show. I have not seen any other mainstream media talking about this. I've looked for it. I haven't seen really anyone talking about this. Like, why is Mike Pompeo working so hard right now when everyone else has basically left? Like, why is Secretary of State Mike Pompeo going on all these trips?
It's his last-ditch effort to get a war with Iran. He has been trying to get a war with Iran for years. Years. And yes, him and Bolton, they've been trying to get into Iran for years. Mm-hmm. And so this is his last-ditch effort because after Biden, he's gone, right?
Yeah, and I have some sources like in the diplomatic arena and who've told me these trips are incredibly difficult to orchestrate. Like when you see somebody go to China or a diplomat, when you see one of these guys, there's a whole staff that's having to put all kinds of briefing documents together, like working their asses off with like 2 days left. For what? What purpose? So why is Pompeo, are they literally trying to undermine the new administration coming in by making these last minute, like foreign movements? You know, like, is something happening where Secretary of State Pompeo is trying to undermine the incoming White House? It's hard to believe that anything else would be happening because less than a week before he leaves office, Pompeo has delivered a deluge of last-minute measures that are going to impede the incoming Biden administration and how they can move on foreign policy.
How in the heck can he get away with inciting violence like on live TV and all over the internet, like blatant incitement of violence, yet people get banned for less.
Well, it could be coming. It could be coming soon to a social media near you soon. I have my theories on this. I'm going to get to it in a second. But in this on Pompeo, but like, I don't want your eyes to glaze over, folks, because these are the types of stories that the mainstream media is not covering. Or if they cover it in such a way where they want you to believe that we now need to go to war with Iran. I saw I was watching the nightly news last night, and Pompeo was saying that Al-Qaeda has now made its home base in Iran. Well, since we're still at war with Al-Qaeda 19 years later, I guess we have to go to war with Iran now.
Well, and the thing is,
that's me as a patriot.
The thing is, like, if they did, so what? Why is that our business? If they made their base in Iran, that's Iran's problem, not ours.
Right. By the way, Iran would think it was in a total affront to their regime to have Al-Qaeda in Iran. Iran would eradicate Al-Qaeda in Iran. That would be like ISIS sets up shop in Moscow. How long do you think that'll last? It's not going to last very long. So in the space of 4 days, the U.S. designated Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism. Remember that announcement last week? Like right after right during the Capitol insurrection? Like, here's a statement from the White House about Cuba. Like, hey, talk about being tone deaf. Did you just see your vice president was locked in a basement? They also then declared the Iran-backed Yemeni Houthis, a terrorist organization. By the way, let me just contextualize that for you. Please don't let Yemen, when I say the word Yemen, don't let it lead to you clicking away or clicking your mouse or turning off your TV. It is one of the worst humanitarian crises in world history. People being destroyed, kids being, it's just an absolute nightmare. And now by labeling them a terrorist organization, it dramatically increases it changes our ability to help those people. Okay, so we need to do that with 4 days left. They also then risked inflaming U.S.-China relations by ending limits on U.S. diplomatic contacts with Taiwan. Okay, and then this, Mike Pompeo said about Al-Qaeda. I want him to say it in his own words, and I just can't. I'm still wrapping my head around this one. But no one's talking about it.
Al-Qaeda has a new home base.
Really? Where?
It is the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Oh, okay.
As a result, bin Laden's wicked creation is poised to gain strength and capabilities. We ignore this Iran-Al-Qaeda nexus at our own peril. We need to acknowledge it.
Oh, it's a nexus.
We must confront it.
Let me guess.
Indeed, we must defeat
before it comes in the shape of a mushroom cloud?
Yeah. Before they hit us with a nuclear weapon, imagine, that's going to be the narrative. Imagine Al-Qaeda getting their hands on Iran's nuclear weapons.
In a world where Iran has nuclear weapons.
They're coming for you. We need a new enemy. Oh, yes, we wanted to wind things down in Afghanistan. Sure, we'll do that. But now we need to wind up in Iran. This is how it happens, folks. The slow drip of BS. Don't be fooled by it. And you're going to start watching CNN. You're going to start to see generals popping up on there to be interviewed. We're going to interview General Casey now, coming up after the commercial break. General Casey, good to have you here on the show. Thanks, Jake. It's good to be here. Now, we heard Secretary of State Mike Pompeo talking about Al-Qaeda in Iran. Should we be concerned? I think we do, Jake. We need to put another couple of aircraft carriers in the Straits of Hormuz. What will that do? It'll scare them, but we need to build more of them. We need more money.
Have you ever seen the video, Mike Pompeo admitting as a CIA agent, like he lies, that you have to lie? Like he blatantly says, I have to get that video and show it to you. But he says that he has to, like, you have to lie, and he has lied and did it proudly because that's what you have to do in the CIA.
Yeah, as head of the CIA, of course, you build a career on that, right? That's your whole career is a lie. Honey, how was your day at work? Great. I just worked down at the CVS pharmacy. Really? I went down there this afternoon and I didn't see you. Oh, I must have been on my lunch break. Meanwhile, I really work at the CIA. Of course they're lying. It's their whole, that's all they do. But you're going to be seeing this. Remember Colin Powell sitting there holding up the little vial? Weapons of mass destruction. We need to go into Iraq. As Donald Rumsfeld says, there's no good television targets in Afghanistan. We need to see us blowing up buildings for what Al-Qaeda did to us on 9/11. Yeah, but Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. We'll make it up. And 19 years later, we're still in this war. So now we need a new bad guy. Because what the hell are we doing in Afghanistan? Oh, I see. Al-Qaeda's not there anymore. They moved to Iran. And Israel certainly doesn't like Iran. So, hey, let's team up. We're going in now. We're going to destroy Iran. That's going to be our new regime change. Get ready. And so I just want to say this. The Financial Times did a story, really fascinating story this morning on this. And when the reporter asked, one administration official said, the flurry of measures was an effort to, quote, blow off steam in the waning days of the Trump administration. What? Wait a minute. I'm sorry. What? Mike Pompeo is just literally blowing off. They're just blowing off steam? Aren't there other ways you can blow off steam without screwing over the next administration's foreign policy objectives? We're just going to blow off steam by telling everyone that Al-Qaeda is in Iran with no evidence whatsoever. When pressed on that issue, they didn't provide any evidence of Al-Qaeda being in Iran. And not that we want to say what Iran has to think about this, but Iran came out immediately and said this is absolute garbage. Not that we can trust them necessarily, but there's no evidence. The White House provided none of it. But they're just doing this to, quote, blow off steam. I had to reread that a couple of times. So he's got all these domestic crises at home right now, Biden does. And now he's got to deal with this crap. What he's got in Yemen, now Iran.
Do you want to see this video? I got it pulled up if you want to.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to cut to it.
Here's Mike Pompeo. Oh, yeah. Applause. Hey, let's give it up. And everyone applauds. Everyone applauds.
That's what gets me.
We steal. We cheat. Yeah, everyone's clapping. Like, this is great. This is just wonderful.
American exceptionalism. Yay.
So what's going on here? I'll just put a bow on it by saying this. Get ready, folks. The reason that Mike Pompeo just the other day tweeted out, hey, by the way, here's my personal Twitter account. Come follow me over there. I won't be using this account anymore. He has managed to somehow remain untarnished by Trump, meaning Trump hasn't gone after him. He hasn't double-crossed Trump. He's not pulled a Mike Pence in the last few days of his administration. In fact, if anything, he's been the most vociferous supporter of Trumpism. What you are seeing, I mark my words, you heard it here first, is that Mike Pompeo is going to run for president in 2024. He will likely run against a Mike Pence for the Republican ticket. He will run on his foreign policy moves. He will run on the fact that he was the former head of the CIA. He will run on the fact that he is the standard bearer of Trumpism, and that President Trump will likely throw his support behind him when he runs for office and probably sets up running for office in the next 2 years. So get ready for Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to be the standard bearer and running for president. I'd be willing to bet on it.
Well, that's when we will officially be like the Roman Empire. How many wars can we get in my 4 years?
Yeah,
because that guy is a warmonger.
Exactly. But hey, that's what Washington loves. That's what Washington loves. So it's not a surprise at all. There's a number of state capitals this morning that are just being blocked off all across the country. It's kind of crazy looking at these different capitals.
State capitals across the country right now bracing.
But like Kentucky, West Virginia, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, all across the country, state capitals, like you can't get near them. They've barricaded off with worries of violence against these state capitals. So, and today's a holiday. So obviously it's Martin Luther King Day. So people are out of work. A lot of people out of work today. We got one day before inauguration, and we could see this flurry of pardons coming in this afternoon. So we'll keep our eye on all of that news. We're also still awaiting a framework on the stimulus plan. Once we get that final text, once we see what it actually looks like, we will talk about that. We're also waiting to find out when this impeachment trial in the Senate will happen, and when that officially will start. All of that and more we will be covering. So join us and subscribe to the channel. All you have to do is hit that little subscribe button right over here and follow us. Because tonight we're back at 4 p.m. Eastern Time with our next episode, our next live show of the program. So please join us. We'd love for you to join us there. Grover would love you to join us as well.
Man,
it's his ego.
I want that life. Sign me up.
It's his ego, really. He needs that stroking for you to join him. He does. 2 days, 1 hour, 56 minutes till Trump is getting evicted. So we will keep our eye on all of the developments out of the White House in Washington. Oh my gosh, this is going to be another very, very busy, very, very busy week around here. So thanks everyone. Thanks everyone for subscribing to our daily newsletter as well. I really appreciate that. If you do get today's newsletter, please do me a favor and just reply. Just hit me back. It's Clayton@morninginvest.com. Just let me know that you got the newsletter. And we're trying to fix any bugs or any issues. Sometimes people type in their email address wrong and they wonder why they didn't get it. They might type instead of Comcast.com, they might forget the T, and we have to try to fix that for people. So if you sign up for our newsletter, just go to morninginvest.com. It's totally free. Just make sure you put in the proper email address. That way you'll get our newsletter first thing every morning. So thanks to you guys for signing up. Bonnie Clapple just sent me an email. Thank you. She says, I got the newsletter. Good. Good, Bonnie. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Oh, a little footnote, one little order of business. I published a brand new video over on our Paranormal Post channel, youtube.com/paranormalpost. I'm trying to pull up that website. There it is.
Well, and also those of you that are in Discord, if you go to morninginvest.com/Discord, there is a paranormal channel in there. And every time Clayton uploads a video to that channel, it posts it in that room. So you get notified there as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Grover loves it. So we just published a new video last night on this UFO story. So if you go to youtube.com/paranormalpost, where we cover UFO stories, unexplained stories, mysteries, stuff I've been obsessed with since I was a little kid. But I have a new story on the Berkshire UFO incident. In the blink of an eye.
You got echo too, just for you.
Anyway, I should have thought about this better. But anyway, go watch it. This is a great UFO story. It's one of the creepiest. So go check it out over on our Paranormal Post channel. Okay, everyone. Grover's howling. My dogs are barking. That means it must be time to end the show. We'll see you back here at 4 p.m. Everyone, have a great afternoon.